time now for everyone's favorite segment of the week. It is time.
It's time for a good old-fashioned Q&A, MMA fans.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, the moment has arrived to hear from the man himself, Ariel Helwani. Live from the Vox Studios in beautiful New York City.
I'm not, I was called out recently about, giving away free plugs.
Get out of your seats and on your
I don't want to.
because here he is,
Yes.
Ariel Helwani.
Paulo Costa, he was very upset. Remember that whole incident?
Yeah.
So,
You should have asked him. His secret juice looks a little more suspect now.
why?
It had like seeds in it.
Yes, we talked about that. Remember? I said it looked different. The composition of it all looked different. I agree.
More like soup.
Also, it feels like if the secret juice is going to change every time we see it, is it truly secret juice?
Yeah, I think
now
so.
it's just whatever you whipped up in the blender. Do you guys believe, yay or nay, that one day he will in fact sell something entitled secret juice to the public?
I think so.
You do?
100%. Yeah, 100%.
It's really hard to sell
It
drinks.
may even be a prime flavor.
Can you imagine a collab?
Yeah, it was like prime secret
X
juice.
secret juice?
Yeah, now we're talking.
In fact, Andy, can you handle the ones and twos? I'm going to go market this real quick.
The ones and twos. Look at you. A real DJ out there.
Let's move on to the questions.
On Monday, we always like to congregate and just kind of let our hair down after the show. Honestly, if I'm being 1,000% truthful with everyone, probably my favorite part of the day. Like when the show is done. No, it's true. I like camaraderie. I like to talk to everyone. I like, we're trying to build a family here, culture. Okay, Frank? And it's very appropriate that you would laugh at this because all of a sudden everyone's like, "Where's Frank? Where's Frank? Where's Frank?" Text Frank. "Hey, Frank, you still around?" Says, "I had to go." That's it. No goodbye. No, sorry, guys, I'm in a rush. No, hey, don't mean to, dine and dash. Nothing. Thought that was a little bit weird. GC, I didn't tell you this. I had to call Frank to see, if everything was okay. He assured me everything was okay. It was a little too Irish goodbye for me. And, I love the Irish. This was a little too Irish goodbye.
There's a fish market in my neighborhood. It closes at a certain time every day.
What time?
6:30.
This has never come up before, so why on this particular day?
So because I usually miss it, and then today, or excuse me, on Monday, I come into the control room. You and Rick leave the room.
Yeah, I had to go to the
With
bathroom.
my bag over my shoulder, and I'm like, I think I'm gonna go get some shrimp.
Well, I'm not allowed to go to the bathroom?
I mean, you can do what you want, but
I mean, it's a long show. It's like
likewise,
4.5 hours of sitting here.
I think it's because you don't eat shellfish that you don't appreciate.
See,
I can't tell if you're being serious about the fish market or not. This is the first time I've heard of the fish market too.
Also, can I just take a step back real quick? I've known you for a year and a half. The fact that you just said I don't eat shellfish when I think we've actually had shrimp together is a little bit
really
upsetting. Did I really what?
Did you really eat it?
I mean, no, I guess. Yes, of course I ate it. So anyway, you went to, what was it, the Tsukiji fish market?
So here's the real rub.
Oh, here we go. You didn't make it. You walked right by it?
Yeah, I decided by the time I got there, I'm like, I'm not really in the mood.
So you actually dipped early.
And I will
early.
Make sure I'm going to knock on the bathroom next time and be like, hey, Ariel, I'm going to grab some shrimp.
By the way, all you had to do was look that my computer was still here, my bag was still here, my jacket was still here.
Doesn't mean anything to me. Look, I have separation anxiety.
Did you not feel?
GC
issues. Actually felt. GC was the one that texted you.
Yeah, like a true man. He just was like, "Hey, man, is everything cool?"
Yeah, it's dare I say it's very weird behavior to just be in the bunker with people for 4 or 5 hours and then leave and not say goodbye.
I mean, a heavy Irish goodbye. Yeah, I mean,
that's very weird behavior.
Around here frantically, and I was just like, "Did Frank just leave? Did he dip?"
That's like borderline HR behavior. To me, it's reportable. No, we're here together. There's only 5 of us here. One guy just leaves with no goodbye, no nothing.
I mean, I edit the show every night. Anyway,
I know you go into your separate studio to edit the show, and then
let's not get into that.
The amount of times where I walk over there and you're just gone, the chair's just empty, and I'm like, oh, I guess Frank left.
I missed you guys.
Yeah, just to see you, see y'all on Wednesday.
Look, if you had a pocket full of shrimp, I would have stayed.
That's it. That's the key to your heart, shrimp.
Yeah. I mean, you really didn't care about the shrimp because you walked right past the market when you got there.
That's the weirdest part about the recounting of this story. He uses the market as an excuse for why he left early and then admits he never actually went to the market.
Listen, the phone call was brought up prior to the show, so I was already aware of it.
My phone call to him?
Yeah, the fish market was never.
Wait, what did he say?
He's like, yeah, Ariel actually had to call me afterward because he was so worried about where I was.
Well, we joke around a lot on the show, and I always feel like it's...
He didn't throw out a fish market, though. He wasn't
Ariel,
like,
if I have an issue, I'm going to bring
I know,
it to
but
you.
this one felt... Even your response back, you remember what the response was? It was very passive-aggressive.
I had to head out, something like that.
No, it
Can you
was...
imagine the ration of shit I would have got of like, hey, I took off because I need to get to this fish market.
Oh, my God. Actually, I would have respected it more.
All right.
Wait a second.
Do you know that disappointment you feel when you try to go get your salmon box and they're like, oh, we're out of salmon?
Yeah.
I don't like to feel like that either. So sometimes I just covertly...
Oh, this is it. Frankie, you out? Connor to Frank, 5:13 p.m. Frank's response, yeah, I had to take off. What? That is weird, bro.
See ya, man.
Come on.
See ya. Thanks for coming. Not even an I'll see you on Wednesday.
No, I had to take off. And to me, that's like family emergency, root canal, right?
Root canal.
I don't know. Maybe you had the runs. Who knows?
Man. So what if I'm trying to save face by just saying I had to
We're all
take off?
friends,
We're all friends. We need to know each other's
You
background.
you tell us when you have a fever every 3 days.
Look, the message is received. I will not leave here without making sure I make eye contact with
I like a
everybody.
proper goodbye. I like a hey
I
guys,
understand.
that was a great day. Let's do better next time, right?
All right,
Let's
but then the
seize
last thing I'll
day.
say on this matter before you answer the first question is you have dipped out without saying goodbye. Not even a knock on the audio
This
suite door
is
to be like, I'm taking off.
1000% one of the biggest lies you've ever told.
I'm gonna document this now.
Is that true? GC, have I ever left without saying goodbye?
Not that I can remember.
Now,
I've come in the control room and like,
Trying
hey,
to
where's the
rack
big
my
man?
brain.
And they're like, oh,
is
he had
it
to go.
possible? Oh, that's
Where's
such
the big man?
Where's the first of all, he never called me the big man. Second of all, you have never asked for me and people were like, oh, he's had to go. I do the same thing every time, by the way. I go here, I go upstairs to get a snack, and then I leave. I'm very easy to find. And if I ever had to leave and didn't say goodbye to you in your little bunker, it's because I walked by the bunker and like I was like out of sight, out of mind. But you know where I am.
Get it. All right then.
Okay, now I'm all fired up. So let's see who's the first question asker. Emilio. Hey guys, just a quick suggestion. How about a Parlay Boys darts game? There's been a lot of talk, but I think now's the time to put the skills to the test. Maybe you can even do a knockout tournament and winner takes all. I'll leave the stakes up to you guys. I'm sure you'll find something perfect to award the winner. And yes, we can change the camera to hide the not so babyface mysterious Frank. Whoa. Heel turn Frank. By the way, thank you so much for that that hot tag. We do have a new darts board, and we're going to showcase it with Joe Pfeiffer, which I mentioned earlier. We even have new darts, actual darts, which are high quality. We have the Winmow, I think the company is called. This is all courtesy of Larry Torres and our good friends over at Madison Square Garden. Thank you so much to them, and PDC as well. And it looks like we're going to get Bully Boy, Michael Smith, #1 in the world, the defending champ, in studio before that big North American clash at the Mecca, home of the 23 NBA champ New York Knicks. So this is all very exciting. I don't know how we can pull off the Parlay Boys darts game, if only because how do we not show Frank? I guess we have to like just show creates a lot of production challenges. But we do like to shoot around before and after, which is fun. By the way, speaking of Parlay Boys, commiserations to Juliana Pena, who gave us that name. She anointed us the Parlay Boys. We found out late last night that she is not fighting Amanda Nunes on June 10th in Vancouver. It's not going to be Irene Aldana for the women's bantamweight title. She apparently injured her rib. I reached out to her, no word back, but wish her the best, of course. To me, the big part of the story is, and credit to GC for bringing this up, what becomes of Raquel Pennington versus Irene Aldana. Any word on that yet, GC? Any update? You were the first one to draw attention to this.
I mean, some people are claiming Holly Holm stepping up. Holly Holm versus Raquel Pennington 3. Don't mind the idea of that, but yeah, I mean, we need a main event spot for that big May 20th card. Yeah.
That is
It's a good one. It's a big one to finish off May.
Oh yeah. Oh, is that the last one?
Yeah, because there's none Memorial Day weekend.
That's right. May 20th, big day in combat sports. Katie Taylor, Chantel Cameron, Devin Haney, Vasily Lomachenko. So we'll find
Apex
out.
card.
What's that?
Apex card as well.
Yeah. How do we feel about the switch though? Like if you're someone from Vancouver or Canada or anywhere in the Pacific Northwest and you bought tickets, are you okay with that switch? And I haven't confirmed this, so take it for what it is. But there were some reports online that Wonder Boy and Michelle Pereira is off too. So like, how do we feel about what's going on?
I mean, that hurts. The Wonder Boy Michelle Pereira. I mean, you're still getting the title fight with Amanda Nunes, and I like the fresh opponent for her, and Irene Aldana. Another chance for a new Mexican champion as well. So I don't mind it, but yeah, losing Wonder Boy Pereira hurts that card.
I hate that it's at Juliana's expense, but it does sort of feel like the division got clogged up a little bit there, like where they fought each other 3 straight times. Feels fresh. In Juliana's defense and favor, she does a great job of selling those fights.
Sure.
She cut some great promos when she was on with us a couple of weeks ago. Aldana and Nunes, not so much. But I think what Aldana has going in her favor going into this fight is there's just this whole like Mexican MMA takeover theme, right?
Yeah, like if she wins, that'll just be insane.
But even that's going to be the talk going into the fight, right? Could
Yeah.
she be the next one? Yair, Alexa, Brandon.
Because then they'll hold the men's and women's flyweight, the women's bantamweight, and the interim
men's featherweight. Yeah, and with a chance to become the unified champ in July, the following month. So there's like a real thing going on. So
yeah, I like it.
Yeah. Will Starr, Ariel, Will from ATL here, shouts to GC. Do you think PFL sees the value in bringing in Jake Paul and Francis Ngannou and then using MVP promotions to offer Ngannou a platform to box on? I could see them signing Francis and working with Jake, who they already have a deal with Nikisa, to get him a big boxing fight, as well as to meet those demands. If PFL could pull this off, they would really be showing they are serious about making a play to be the for sure number 2 brand in North America. What do you think? Am I just stating the obvious? So, what drama this Francis Ngannou story has become. On Monday, I said that he was very close to signing a deal. That is very true. I did not say who that promotion was, but by, I guess, process of elimination, people boiled it down to PFL and Bellator. My good friend Chael Sonnen yesterday saying PFL. And, I do know that Bellator was not as active in these negotiations. So I'm not saying confirming or denying anything, but let me address this particular question, and perhaps there'll be more Francis stuff that we can talk about as well. As of right this moment, my understanding is any talk that Francis is having with an MMA promotion is to just do MMA only. And so there hasn't been any sort of movement on a Francis MVP collabo. Now, do things change? Very possibly. If he does in fact sign with PFL, could things change then? Very possibly. But as of right this moment, they're kind of 2 separate operations. The MMA side, the boxing side, and there's not a lot of cross-pollination there, if you get what I'm saying. That could change. But what you lay out here makes a ton of sense, an absolute ton of sense. Because here's what's very important. And if I can, just kind of take a step back here, there's a few things to say. First of all, this rush, I think what is happening here now with Francis Ngannou is a fascinating look into how people feel about themselves and how people feel about others. And what I mean about that, by that is, very few people in life have the guts and courage to take the road less traveled. If there was anyone in the world of MMA that was going to be comfortable taking that road less traveled, it's the guy who grew up with nothing, who worked in sand dunes, who was homeless, who had to swim in the ocean and escape and be locked up and live in a garage. It was this guy. It was Francis Ngannou. I don't know if a lot of people can wrap their head around that. And so to them, they're like, you walked away from the UFC? You walked away from this? You walked away from that? You walked away from, like, what are you doing? And there's this rush to say, you fumbled the bag. You messed up. When in reality, all they're doing is projecting their own feelings and own insecurities on this guy who is daring to take the road less traveled. That's what's happening here. And so I don't know if I've ever seen this kind of story play out like this, where people are rushing to say someone failed, someone lost, someone screwed up before the story has even played out. If at the end of all of this, we find out that he's making considerably less and his career has gone down the toilet, we could put that verdict out. And by the way, I'll be the first to sit here and say that. But the story hasn't even played out yet. We don't know how much he's making. We don't know who he's fighting. We don't know where he's fighting, how he's fighting, on what platform. We don't know anything. All we know are a few promoters have come out and said we're out of the running. Now, they have said that. We never really got his side of the story where he's telling us, like, I took them out of the running, right? What about that? And what I love about the Chatri thing, and I had a nice chat with Chatri after the show on Monday, and I think we've always been very fair to one and to him in particular. And let's be honest, there is a thing online to try and, often discredit the things that he says. There's this narrative online, especially on Twitter, where a lot of people, the hardcore MMA fans, feel like he embellishes. I'm not breaking any news here. He knows very well about all of this. The viewership numbers, the social media numbers, the Nielsen, all this stuff. And it seems like every time there's something one related, especially from a successful standpoint, there's a rush to discredit whatever he is saying, calling it BS, poking holes in their financials. We've had him on to talk about these things, but I've never sat here and called BS on X, Y, and Z. I think we've only tried to shine a positive light and talk about, we bring up the issues with the rehydration and the weigh-ins being private and the money lost and all that stuff, but I think it's all been very fair. On Twitter, quite the opposite. And yet, when Chatri goes out and plants all these things that he's removing himself from the Francis Ngannou sweepstakes, all of a sudden, he has become, to the same people who discredit every single one championship-related item, this bastion of truth and honesty and, rock solid, whatever he says is gold. How did this change? All of a sudden now, he says it and we're not going to verify. All of a sudden now, we're not going to get the other side of the story. All of a sudden, when he says we couldn't come to terms on non-financial matters and I don't want to take it any further out of respect for Francis, and then the next day doubles down and says Francis wanted to be a part of the board of directors and I offered him $20 million. I thought, by the way, we weren't going to get too personal. We're going to run with that? I asked Francis about the board of directors thing, and he's calling BS. Now, is there a world where both of them are bending the truth? Absolutely. I guess we'll never know. It's a he said, she said thing. But I just find it fascinating, given this rush to say you failed, you gambled and lost, you fumbled the bag, as the kids like to say, that we're just going to run with every promoter trying to, for whatever reason, save face in this sweepstakes, and not, at the end of the day, whenever he decides to go with any promotion, appear as though they lost out by beating him to the punch and announcing the news the way they want it to be announced, which, by the way, as we talked about with New York Rick, you're in your right to do. That's the game. That's PR 101. We're just running with that. It's whack, in my opinion. It's gross. It's disgusting. And I see other people saying, like, Ariel ruined Francis's career. Guys, if you think that I'm a part of any of these meetings, I mean, I know this is just a troll job, but you're all out of your fucking minds. By the way, I think I could do a fantastic job managing and navigating someone's career from a business standpoint. I feel like I know the game quite well at this point, and I know who's BSing and who's not. If you think I'm involved in any of that, you're out of your mind. Go back to the interview with Francis in January when he was on to talk about all this. I asked him repeatedly, don't you think you should have a manager? Don't you think you should have representation? You need that to navigate the waters. Very important. And perhaps that is why in May he doesn't have a deal just yet. I don't know. Hopefully we'll find out when we talk to him. I ain't that guy. I still believe he wanted certain things. Go out there and try to get them. Of course, when you're dealing with the UFC, the pettiest of all petty, they're going to slam the door because they feel slighted about it. Why can't he go out there and fight a Dillian White or a Deontay Wilder or a Tyson Fury and then revisit the John Jones fight? It's still going to be the biggest fight come 2024. But they're going to slam the door, at least for now, again, to save face and say, we won, he's not welcome back. I don't envy the position that he's in. And he's the only one that I don't envy. It's not that I don't envy this guy, that guy, anyone. Anyone's going to be very lucky to get him once it happens. And I can assure you, whenever it happens, there's going to be people who say, oh, you fucked up this and that. I can assure you the people who sign him are going to be very happy. Now, he's in a very unique spot now. He had the people, it seemed like, on his side come January when all this happened. Now the public has said, all right, we've had enough. We're not waiting anymore. Diaz has signed his fight. This guy has done his thing. Your number's up. You got to do something. And so I suspect that there's going to be a rush to make some kind of announcement, at least one of the announcements, right? I think he wanted to do boxing first, then MMA. But if he's close to MMA, maybe he does that first, just to show people that he knows what's what. The big question to me is the boxing component. We always knew that there were only X, Y, and Z players in MMA. What's he going to do boxing? If he's going to do a deal like Terrence Crawford and go on something called BLK Prime or whatever that is, that's not good. That is not good. If you're going to do a deal with Showtime, with DAZN, with ESPN, with the major players right now in the world of boxing, with a major promoter to show the world that you are serious about this and it's not just a money grab or it's not just a one-off or it's not just a circus thing, that's good. That's what I would suggest. If Francis called me right now and said, Ariel, you represent me, of course I would say no, that's unethical. But if we take off the journalism hat for a second, I'm like, who are we talking to? We're talking to Eddie Hearn. We're talking to Top Rank. We're talking to De La Hoya. We're talking to Mayweather. We're talking to Dimitri Salita. We're talking to Lou DiBella. We're talking to all these guys. We're talking to Nikisa and MVP. We're talking to all these guys. And then we're going to find out who's who and what's what. But they know the boxing game. I don't. Certainly not without a manager. So yes, there are things that you could say. There are critiques that can be made. Absolutely. In this process. But to say this is an L or a W right now is reckless and just not fair. And I don't know why there is a rush. And I don't know why there are people who are rooting for him or any fighter. If you're an MMA fan and you're rooting for fighters to fail, especially the good guys who have represented the sport and who have overcome a lot, I question your fandom. I question what you really care about. I question who you really care about. And so it seems like there's a lot of that negativity and shit out there. And it seems like there's a lot of promoters out there that want to, look out for their best interests, and that's fine. At the end of the day, you have to look out for number one. And Francis has kept his mouth shut for the most part. We're going to find out sooner or later. The ones who are claiming victory or loss at this point are way too premature. You're like the former president saying stop the count when he was up after 12 hours or 6 hours, whatever it was. That's what you're doing. And you look like clowns. All of you. So take a breath. Let's find out. I'll sit here in this chair. If once we see the deal, I'm like, man, you gave up a lot and you walked away from a lot. And for this, I'll be the first to say it. Ariel gave Francis bad. You think Francis calling me up? You think I'm a part of these meetings? Fucking clown. By the way, I appreciate it. It's a massive compliment. I'm just a guy who sits here in front of a microphone and tells you my opinion on things and has no agenda when it comes to any of this shit. Has nothing to do. Listen, the UFC deal was a great deal, but if they were, excluding other opportunities, and trust me, I know what it's like to feel kind of shackled, then who the fuck are we to complain about that? It's all very selfish. Just because you really wanted to see John Jones and Francis Ngannou, and he ruined that for you. He ruined that opportunity for you. You're all so mad about that? Fuck out of here. This guy, of all people, he can do whatever the hell he wants. Everything. By the way, even if he signs for $1 more than his UFC deal, he's still a winner. This guy was floating in the middle of the freaking sea and captured and put in a jail for weeks in, I believe, Spain because he was trying to escape poverty in Africa. Even if he signs for $670,000, whatever his deal was with the UFC, $660, that's a victory. Clowns, all of you. Sergio, Ariel, do you know what Francis is fighting for, or is it off the record? Is it royalties? Fighters should get paid for their fights being rewatched on Fight Pass, in my opinion. How do you feel about the media, mostly Dana's shills, trying to blame you for ruining Francis's career? Oh, wow, I wish I read this like 10 minutes ago. By supporting his right to test. I don't give a fuck. I'll tell you what, it's a laughable thing, and there is a part, I always see I see Izzy talking about the bots and all that, And I never really believed it, but now I'm starting to believe that it's an actual real thing. Like to put this narrative that I ruined Francis's career, like I was a part of those discussions. Are you guys all out of your fucking minds? Could you imagine me sitting there with Hunter Campbell and Dana White and be like, nope, Francis needs this and that? What are you talking about, you psychopaths? No, absolutely not. But I will always support any fighter who goes out there and tries to get whatever he wants out of this short window. If he has a dream to box, even if it's a dream to box in Africa against some guy that we've never heard of, God bless. Live your life. Ruined his career. What the fuck are you talking about? I saw this thing where someone said that Francis was trying to control. Do we get into all this? It's just amazing to me that everyone's running with this. I'm telling you guys, have I ever sat here and lied to you? I have never done that. What is being put out there right now about Francis is a lot. And by the way, shout out to Eric Nixick, his coach, for even dispelling some of those lies. One of the things, this guy's asked me about one of the things that he is asking for, I could tell you this, is he wants a guarantee from whomever he is fighting for promoter-wise that his opponent cannot make under a certain amount. He wants his opponent to make at least a minimum. He wants a guarantee that his opponent cannot be underpaid, in other words. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if Francis Ngannou signs on to fight Ante Delelli and they want to pay Ante like $30,000, he's not down with that. He wants his opponent to make a certain amount as well. What that number is, I don't know. But he wants a guarantee that they cannot go under that number. They could go above the number if that person is worth it, whatever his deal is. But you can't underpay the opponent. Who else is fighting for these things? Tell me who. Tell me. And we're going to shit on that guy. That's what we're going to shit on. That's why this whole thing is messed up. God forbid anyone actually tries to get the fighters what they are owed, to bring them together, to have a collective voice. God forbid that actually happens one day. That person is in for a real treat. Hello. Is there any world where Conor finishes out the 2 fights left on his UFC contract and BKFC can somehow manage to raise enough capital to pay an ungodly amount for Nate Conor 3 in bare knuckle? After that fever dream with Conor in the ring holding the belt the other night, nothing is beyond possibility. And I'm in agreement, but who the hell knows? I could see a world where Jake Paul beats Nathan Diaz, and all of a sudden Jake Paul versus Conor is a real thing. Someone once told me, I remember being on a radio show, and the great Stephen Brunt was on. It was in Toronto, the Fan 590 in Toronto. And we were talking about Mayweather McGregor, and this is before it was a real thing. This is like months before it was a real thing. And I was a little bit, hesitant to accept it and believe it. And he said one thing and he's much older than I am, and he's maybe my favorite sports journalist of all time. And he said, one thing that I always learned when dealing with, fighters and fighting and promoters and all that stuff is follow the money. If there's money to be had, especially an insane amount of money, crazy things are possible. And that's why I'm not closing the door on Francis going back to the UFC. If he wins his next fight and John Jones beats Stipe Miocic and God knows what else happens. And I'm not closing the door on this or I'm not closing the door on that. Follow the money. I've always remembered that and it tends to be true. Ariel via 3rd round TKO. That's the name of this guy. Hello to my favorite journalist and the rest of the crew. With Sterling Cejudo coming up, I had the thought that these are arguably the 2 best grapplers in UFC Bantamweight history, which led me to start thinking about which fighters are the best all time at particular disciplines categories. I'd love to hear you and the crew's picks for the best UFC fighter of all time in the following categories, respectively. This could spark a fun debate. Striking, like who's the greatest striker of all time in UFC history? Anderson Silva? Anderson is up there. I mean, people will hate this one, but like prime Conor, the precision was unbelievable. Izzy up there as well. Wrestling. I mean, he wasn't a collegiate wrestler per se, but GSP's takedowns were insane. Khabib, obviously. in that conversation. Brock, very raw. Randy Couture, Mark Coleman, BJJ. I mean, you could go as far back as Royce Gracie, or you could go Damian Maia. I'm trying to think of people who like blended it all together as opposed to who are just great at one discipline. Cardio. I mean, Diaz brothers are up there, obviously. Clay Guida. Who had better cardio than that guy? Guy freaking goes 5 rounds and starts doing push-ups afterwards. Defense, meaning they don't get hit. I mean, Anderson in his prime, when he was... The Chael fight, UFC 117, was so shocking because we had never seen him get hit like that before. Chin. Crazy chin. Lots of them. Robbie Lawler. I mean, he got knocked out early in his career. Nick was up there. Crazy chin.
Holloway.
Fucking Holloway. Yeah, it's a good one. It's always hard to do these like retrospective ones. Fight IQ. I put Volkanovski up there. That's for sure. Holloway's up there to a degree as well. John Jones up there. GSP, obviously. Khabib. DJ's cardio also was sick. Yeah. You disagree? Want to add to any of those, GC?
I mean, I know he's much more recent, but Marab's cardio is
Oh, yeah.
insane.
No, that's a great one.
If he holds that up throughout his career, he'll go down as one of the cardio machines.
Yeah, that is a great one. I like that one. Whoops. Okay. Nasal waxing. What the hell is that? Like getting the hair out of your nose?
I think that's exactly what that is.
When we think of crossover athletes in sports, I think Michael Jordan, Bo Jackson, Brock Lesnar are all thought of more highly than Henry Cejudo. The man captured Olympic gold and followed that up by changing sports to MMA and being one of the 4 humans to ever be a champ in 2 weight classes simultaneously. It could be argued that he is the greatest combat sports athlete ever, yet barely cracks top 10 in the minds of most MMA fans. Yeah. You know, WWE has been calling Brock Lesnar the greatest combat athlete of all time, but like he never won an Olympic gold. He was never even in the Olympics. And then, won the one belt, but really, it didn't really earn it per se. He was 2-1 when he got the title shot against the much smaller Randy Couture. And then obviously didn't win another. Career got cut short because of the diverticulitis. But yeah, it's a great case. Legendary career. I mean, how many people have won Olympic gold and had success in MMA? How many people have won any kind of Olympic medal and had success in MMA? It's not a long list. Is it 10? So yeah, no, he is definitely up there. And it's great to have him back. And I'm very curious to see. I was talking to someone about the fight yesterday. I was like, man, 3 years off. They're like, wasn't that same amount of time that John Jones was out? And I was like, yeah, you're right. And, I feel like Henry stayed in better shape. I know he got a little bigger and all that, but, was still around and coaching and things like that. So I'm very curious to see how he looks. Very curious. It's better with him around. The division is better. It's more interesting. And he's a great fighter. Don't be fooled by the YouTube cringe, whatever stuff. He is as high level as it gets. Eli Shiffy, what's up, Ariel and crew? As a New Yorker myself, I've always had some Aljamain Sterling bias and felt like he was both underappreciated and underrated. I currently believe Dom Cruz to be the bantamweight GOAT, but I think with a win on Saturday, Aljo really starts to close the distance and perhaps even takes that title. Takes the title, but I mean, he could be in a conversation. Why does it always have to be the GOAT on the line? Can we decide when it's over? I was wondering what your guys' take on the bantamweight GOAT debate. Right now, for me, it's still Cruz. I'm sorry. If Cejudo wins, where does that put him all time? I mean, obviously he's in a conversation. He's in a conversation for one of the best all time. Specifically, bantamweight, I just don't think he's had enough of a run. I mean, it's just a couple of fights, so you got to have more longevity there. And I know for a massive portion of Cruz's run, he was injured, but to me, he put that division on the map. And him coming back after the layoff to beat TJ Dillashaw was just insane. The injuries and coming back from all that, and even him still being around and fighting and relevant is insane. So not quite. Great fight, big stakes, love everything about it. I think we can leave the GOAT stuff on the sidelines. GC has too much merch. Typo. Letter T-O-O. The word
Too many explanation points.
That too. Hey, AJ and crew. Wow, the rare AJ. I appreciate it. Love to see someone other than the UFC get a meaningful win like BKFC did this weekend. Bellator in Dublin every year. Doesn't count. Why not? Anyway, are there any historic moments in non-UFC promotions that catapulted an organization as much as Saturday did for BKFC? Mad props to Feldman for literally betting his house. As an entrepreneur myself, that man has some serious cojones. I've noticed like a big love for Feldman and the crew. Like, they have to a degree what Bellator has never been able to accomplish, and that is be sort of the darling of the online world. Strikeforce was that. It never crossed over to Bellator. I suspect part of that was Bjorn's, doing, and Coker never was able to kind of regain that Strikeforce magic with Bellator. I don't know if PFL has it, if I'm being honest, but it feels like BK has it. And there's something to be said. You come on, you talk about your mortgage and all that. Like, people want to get behind something like that. So they're doing something. Much love to you and the crew. Every day is infinitely better when you guys are on. Thank you for all that you guys do. Really appreciate that. Strikeforce had some massive wins. The start of the heavyweight Grand Prix was great in New Jersey. Coincidentally, at that point, like, they were weeks away from being sold. We didn't know that. They had some big nights. Elite XC had some big wins too on CBS back in the day, and we felt like maybe that could get them to another level. Obviously, Pride back in the day. The first Affliction show was fun. The main event ended in explosive fashion with Fyodor submitting Tim Sylvia in a matter of seconds. So there have been moments like this. The question is, can you capitalize on them? Can you keep the momentum going? Can you build on it? And honestly, even Bellator, like when AJ McKee beat Patricio, it felt like that was going to be a moment. He sat out for a little bit too long. So there have definitely been moments. The question is, can you build on it? We'll find out. Cole. Good day, Ariel and crew. My question for you and the crew. With Mitchell being out of his fight against Evloev, Diego Lopez has replaced Mitchell on 5 days' notice. Do these late replacement fights make you more interested whenever the A side falls out? Mitchell being the A side, in my opinion, looking at social media followers and name value. Late replacement fights are a surefire way, in my eyes, to become a fan favorite and a fan out of a fighter you may have zero knowledge about. Excellent example being last week with Marcus McGee. Yes, absolute great example. Love the show and the crew and the overall vibe. Thank you so much. It's a great story. People can get behind. You know, it's something that's not talked about enough. We make this whole big thing about like the USADA testing pool, 6 months, this and that. What about the dudes that get the fights on 5 days' notice? Why don't they have to go through 6 months? What's the difference? You know what I mean? Like if I just signed up today to fight in the, like Marcus McGee signed on 3 days' notice, 4 days' notice, whatever it was, he wasn't in the pool before. Doesn't that seem weird? I think so.
I guess it's just an exception.
Yeah.
For extenuating circumstances.
I'm going to need help with this one from, but otherwise I agree. Everyone loves Cinderella. Everyone loves like a guy kind of coming out of nowhere and changing their life. So yeah, it's fun. I think most people would say like, oh, I want the original matchup. I want Bryce, but it's fun when it happens here and there. Not all the time. El Peruanos. Peruanos. Did I get that right, Andy?
You had it the first time.
Peruanos.
Yeah, you got it.
What was it again? Someone from Peru?
Yep.
Respect.
Like people from.
Right,
yep.
right. Ariel, I found Chatri's interview refreshing last week. Oh, that's funny. I thought we had a... He was promoting constantly, spoke highly of his fighters, and hinted at future plans to keep folks interested. Thank you. How'd you rate him as a promoter compared to some of the others you have interacted with over the years? I enjoy look, I love promoters. I love talking to them. I love trying to see like where that's why I love a good Eddie Hearn interview. I love a great Scott Coker interview, Chatri, Feldman, Bjorn. Like I've had them all on, right? But promoters are promoters. Just look at their title. They promote. And what are they promoting? Their brands and themselves and their fighters and their organizations. That's their agenda. It's literally their title. They are there to promote. So just remember that. Remember that when you take their words for gospel. I enjoyed that conversation very much. I got a nice text afterwards from their PR guy saying he enjoyed it and appreciated all the positive comments and all that stuff. That's what I'm trying to explain to you guys. Like, there's no agenda. We're keeping it real, and I got to keep it real on the back end too. It's a big week for one. And there's a part of me that wishes that there wasn't, for their sake, a UFC pay-per-view on Saturday, because it feels like if they could have owned the weekend, it would have been huge. Saturday, just basically what happened to BK last week. Nevertheless, on Friday, it's massive. This company based in Asia, successful in Asia, coming over to the U.S. Remember when Pride came over a couple times? Like those were big deals. Diaz, Takanori Gomi, it's one of the greatest finishes ever. It was really cool. This is very important for them. They need to have success, especially when you have a deal with Amazon Prime. You need to have success in America. Very, very important. So this is a huge, huge deal. And I wish them nothing but the best. Connor from Canada, what are your thoughts on Usman calling out Khamzat? I remember post his second loss to Leon, you guys, Rick in particular, were advocating for him to take on big money fights, but it seems he's going to go a much harder route to try to regain his place on the throne. Can I be honest with you guys? I love the idea of Usman versus Khamzat. Love it. Go big. Why not? Respect to him for asking for it. As long as Leon is the champ, I don't know. I feel like it's going to be hard to get another crack. I know he said it wasn't definitive and all this stuff. Like, to me, up 2-1, how many more times? You beat Khamzat, though. You might force their hand. Would love to get some clarity on the Khamzat situation. I know we had him on a few weeks ago, and I feel like we still don't really know where he's going. Is he going to 85? Who's he fighting at 85? 170? Just forget the stakes. Forget the rankings. Forget what's at stake. Like all that stuff. Just the fight. Khamzat versus Leon. Khamzat versus Usman is an insane fight. It's an incredible fight. Khamzat versus Usman is just a tremendous fight. Love everything about it. So yeah, I would be down. Would you like to see that, GC?
Yeah, love that. Want Khamzat to get a title shot, but if he's not going to, I love that.
So would you not like it because if Usman wins, then it's pretty much like Holloway and Allen, and now all of a sudden you're killing off the guy who was that close with the guy who's probably not getting another crack?
Yeah, now to clarify, this is happening at 170 in your eyes?
Mm-hmm. Sorry, just have to get some water.
Yeah, I mean, if he beats Kamaru Usman at 170, then you have to give him a title shot, in my opinion. But then, like, it feels like the race for the title is getting so clogged at 170 now. Because now I think at the presser, Gilbert Burns says that he was told it's a title eliminator on Saturday.
Oh, he said that?
Yeah.
That was earlier today?
Yeah, I believe I read that.
All right.
So yeah, I don't know. I kind of like the idea of Khamzat just fighting at 185. Costa Khamzat. He wins that, he gets a title shot at some point.
Yeah.
Both the divisions are kind of clogged for him. But
they are clogged.
I would love
five
to
a little
see
bit clogged too. I mean, I guess we'll get some clarity in June if they fight.
Yeah.
Thomas, what's up, Ariel? Almost a week ago, there was a rumor of PFL buying Europe. Did I just say Europe? PFL buying Bellator. I think this would be great for the state of MMA outside of the UFC. Is there any word on the validity of this statement? Thank you for your hard work, Viva Helwani. No, that is not true. I don't know where that came from. They kicked the tires, I guess you can, is that it? Kick the tires on that? I told you a long time ago that they were on the market, and that remains true. And I think something is going to happen. And I've heard that there's two major players, and I don't feel comfortable saying who those two major players are, but it would be a very interesting story if one of them, and I'm not trying to put like, this is not me reporting per se, this is me doing a show and it's very different and I'm sure it's going to get cut up and blah, blah, blah. And someone's going to call me because they saw the 15-second clip from Jedi, Hi Jedi, and it's just the way it is. And I love it. It's great. No beef whatsoever. But I'm just telling you, they kicked the tires or cans? Well, what is it? Is it tires or cans?
Can down the road.
No. Kick the can down the road means you're like pushing something off. Kicking the tires means that they were trying it out.
Yeah, so I was right the first time, right? Tires. They kicked the tires. Kicking the can, you're 100%. You're like delaying. Anyway, that was preliminary, and there's nothing to it. Would be kind of wild, but there's nothing to it at the moment. The two players that I heard are not the PFL, and honestly, like, I'm very interested to see what Bellator is, where they are, January 1st, 2024. This is one of the stories now to watch for the next 7 months. Massive story. But no validity as of right now. There was months ago. Very brief prelim, but it was something. Now it's nothing. The Scottish GC. Hi, Ariel and the team. One for everyone to give their opinion on. After another of Eddie Hearn's sports had its world final on Monday, the snooker. Did you guys watch the snooker final?
Couldn't make time for it.
Busy.
Had to go get some shellfish.
Fish market. What's the hardest thing to do? A 147 in snooker? Now, this is why I love Moderator Lewis. And by the way, Moderator Lewis celebrating a year of moderating next week. How about that? It's been a year,
so
guys.
Awesome.
What's happening?
He's
Time
literally on fire.
Time is flying, though. A year? Anyway, he lets me. Do you know what a 147 in snooker is?
I mean, obviously I do, but if you could explain to the audience.
Okay, yeah.
That'd be helpful.
I appreciate that. It's known as a maximum break, according to Moderator Lewis. In a single turn, a player has to pot 15 red balls, followed by black each time for 120 points. Then the final color balls with a finish on a black ball for 147. All right. Sounds insane. Anyway, he's asking 147 in snooker or snooker. A nine darter, pitch a perfect game, a hole in one, and that's it. This guy says it's the 147 by a mile. Oh, Lewis added another, a 300 game in bowling. That's not bad. 12 strikes in a row. What do you guys say?
All right, I think the 300 game is at the bottom.
Yeah.
I've gone pretty deep in a couple bowling games, like 7 frames, all strikes.
Wow, look at you.
Hole in one, I would go next.
You're going from the bottom up.
I'm going from the bottom up right now.
Okay.
Hole in one next. Now, all these are incredibly difficult. Getting a hole in one is like near impossible, but like it can happen to anyone on any day. Like you can just swing the club and get lucky. And then obviously professionals do it hundreds of times over the year, like combined between all professionals, obviously not themselves. Man, then it gets tricky. A 9 darter, that is like unbelievably difficult. Getting a 180 itself is difficult. Like we went to the professional darts guys and none of them even came close to getting a 9 darter.
I mean, some of the Canadians did.
Yeah.
No. To a 9 darter, that's 180 after 180 after 180, like, and then closing the game out. What were the other options?
Okay, so I actually agree with you. I agree. I'll put the 300 game at the bottom. I'll then go. I actually feel like I've got it. I'll then go hole in one. We've seen
Which
like
is still incredibly difficult.
Yes,
this is
but,
not.
I mean, all of these are difficult, but we've seen regular Joes get this, right?
Yeah,
basketball players, all that.
It can happen by chance. That's the biggest thing about a hole in one.
Why so quick to put the 300 on the bottom, though?
Something has to go on the bottom. They're all tough. Okay, listen. Then I'm going to go 9 darter. Then I'm going to go the 147 in snooker because to me, that's I don't even understand. It's so complicated. I don't even understand. So that makes it hard. And then perhaps to the surprise of some, I'm going to go with the perfect game. And I'll tell you why the perfect game I feel like is the toughest of them all. Because it's you versus someone else. Here, it's literally... Here, you've got to beat someone to get... And not just someone, 27 people, right? Or 9 times 3. You know what I mean? So I just feel like that's the toughest thing. You've got to literally beat a person 27 times to get to that.
Also, how many times do you get a chance at a perfect game in your life? Where snooker, I mean, you could just sit and play snooker all day and see if you could potentially pull it off.
Yeah.
I mean, what has there been? 23 perfect games in the history of the MLB? And there's thousands of games every single season?
Interesting that you went with the MLB.
Nice. You're big on the does.
No, but it can't be
the does?
No, it can't be. It's just MLB. It can't be the Major League Baseball. How many perfect games?
It just sounds weird, you know? Like there's been 23 games in it.
By the way, how did you know that off the top of your head? You're right. It is 23.
Listen, I used to be in the sports back in the day.
Is really the last perfect game Felix Hernandez in 2012? That can't be.
Nah. I don't think that's right.
Okay. So maybe it's not 23. How many perfect games? 23. Yeah, I don't know.
I like perfect game being one.
Yeah.
I'll go snooker too, just because I'm snooker's like a relative of pool, billiards, similar. Yes.
By the way, according to this MLB article, the last perfect game was Felix Hernandez against the Rays in August of 2012.
11 years.
Is that possible? I guess so. Matt Cain also, June of 2012. What happened in 2012? 3 perfect games in 2012?
Yeah, it feels like we just get on these weird little runs with them. Snooker, though, that's like a cousin of pool.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Billiards.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm terrible at pool, so I'll go with that as 2.
All right.
9-darter 3. But I mean, I'm talking 1A through E there. Because they're all incredible.
Oh, they're all incredible. Frank, you're putting 300 at the top of the list?
It's funny you mentioned that. My wife just messaged me. A 300 game is easier than a hole-in-one? I think she's a little offended.
First of all, shout out to your wife for watching live.
She comes from a family of like professional
players. Yeah. I know that this is true. And how many 300 games has her family?
Yeah, but you have to learn the pattern of the oil. Like, it's not like you can just, I practice the same every time. Like, you have to adapt. What you were saying about the hole-in-one is kind of like, the conditions are right. They're just going to land itself. Just saying.
See, that's why I didn't want to get into this, because now we're like crediting all these things by putting them at the bottom. Like they're both incredibly difficult.
Literally losing subscribers right now. I could see.
No,
it.
this
my
is
God,
great.
the numbers dropping.
By the way, had I known your wife was watching live, I feel like we would have been.
Yeah, she loves it when you just dunk on me.
She's
actually
games?
like, hey, can you stop by the fish market tonight? I'm like, but sweetheart, you know what time it closes? It's like, no, please, just some shrimp.
How many 300 games has there been in her family, Frank?
Honestly, don't know. I have to ask her, but.
I mean, there's some guys out there with like dozens and dozens.
Who?
I'm going to cut this and send it to my brother-in-law.
MVB or something? What's the guy's name?
I mean, the only professional bowler I acknowledge is Pete Weber.
PVW? What did he call himself? He used to say...
Exactly.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, who do you think you are? I am.
Yeah, I know, but what was his thing? It was like 3 letters.
I don't know. I just know him as Pete Weber.
All right, fine. Noah. What's going on, Ariel and Co? My girlfriend surprised me with tickets to UFC 288 for my birthday, and I'll be making my MMA event debut on Saturday. Couldn't be more stoked, but I need some advice to get the best experience at the event. If you were planning the perfect outing from before the card all the way through the main event, what would you do? What should we eat before? Mexican for Cinco de Mayo or Italian for Jersey? Looking for a specific theme input from GC. What should we expect when we get to the event? Can't wait to hear all your thoughts from 10,000 feet up on my way to Newark at 6 a.m. on Saturday. By the way, dicey to be flying in Saturday morning, 6 a.m. It's going to be a long night for you, my friend. I mean, that show is going to end at like 1 a.m., but respect.
They'll get a disco nap in.
A disco nap? What is that?
I've never heard of that before.
Is that like what people used to do before the disco? They'd get a nice little cat nap in?
So, like, you know how I work at a club?
Yeah.
You sleep before you go out.
They call it disco nap.
Disco napping.
I kind of like that. It's sort of like in New Jersey, they sell something called disco fries.
Do they do this at Wawa?
No, like diners, because that's what people would go eat on their way home from the disco. Now, disco fries, for those I may not know, is just like a shittier version of poutine. It's like gravy, cheap, but it's just not the same. I think they put mozzarella, or as they say in some parts of New Jersey, mozzarella. But the original poutine from Quebec is the best. Anyway, Newark, not exactly the most exotic of locales. What would you? I feel like
Yeah, I'm having a hard time
GC's
with
a better
the
one
theme
to ask.
myself. Like,
Yeah.
I really,
We
I
have
can't decide.
Jersey Mike's.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna get some Jersey Mike's. I mean, that's a
Wawa.
no-brainer. That's a
Okay, but here's
layup.
the thing: is Jersey Mike's like legit? Like, I feel
Yeah.
like
It's got
someone.
It's in the
in the
name,
name,
dude.
yeah.
It's in the name.
I feel like someone from Jersey is gonna roll their eyes listening to this.
Oh,
You need to go to like a local.
I'm from Jersey.
he's now the.
You need to
de
go to
facto-
like a local Italian sub guy and get like a little prosciutto, a little provolone, a little mozzarella.
Yes,
Nah,
yes.
what I
Everything
mean?
you just said, and the local New Jersey Italian guy
Is Jersey
Mike.
Mike's.
It's Jersey Mike. To be clear, there. I mean, it's an absolute no-brainer.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Garden State. There's not much else to it. We got.
Have
the
you ever seen the
Turnpike.
movie Garden State?
No, I haven't.
Great
Wow.
movie. Did you see his new one?
I guess I need to
The new
watch
Zach
it.
Braff movie.
No, I didn't even know he
Just
had
came
anyone.
out. Yeah.
Oh, Zach Braff. Shout out Scrubs.
By the way, Garden State. Like, there's a chance that my wife and I don't get married if not for Garden State.
Oh, really?
Wow.
My wife and I went to go
2004,
see
yeah.
2004 Garden State. We had no one as far as friends in New York. We go to the movies, we see it. It's very sort of about life and love and all that, and that was
Great
it.
movie.
And
Great
then
soundtrack.
have I told you this story before? Is that why you're saying
No.
this? At our wedding, our first dance was to New Slang
Nice.
from Garden State. Yellow
Yellow teeth.
No, 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 no.
Did you know Zach Braff is friends with the lead singer of the Shins? And that's how he got the rights to those songs.
What
And
a
I'm like,
song.
It helped both of them because the movie was better for it.
What a movie. Would you highly recommend it?
I would if you like the whole manic pixie dream girl type movie.
Oh, I love it. I don't even
Like
know what that is,
Elizabethtown.
to be honest.
Specific
Whatever that is, it's fantastic.
You ever seen
I
Elizabeth?
actually do love the Manic Pixie
Yes.
movies.
Who are the Manic Pixie Girls? Sounds like a cool
Manic
band.
Pixie Dream Girl. Like 500.
But
Days
it's
of
a
Summer.
great band name, the Manic Pixie
I
Girls.
can't believe you just now heard this term.
I'm down with this. I mean, I have to watch it
You
as
got-
a,
by the way,
as a
feels-
New Jerseyan now.
Feels like now that you're in Jersey, you got to watch it. But
Yeah, I
feels
agree.
like maybe a Friday night, pre-288 film
Yeah.
to really
mean-
get in the mood.
We're actually going to stop in the middle of the watch party to go play field hockey up on the roof of 85 Broad.
I love it.
Was that a spoiler?
Yeah. Some
Jeez.
Clerks, when they... Okay. Another Jersey film.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time with the theme here.
It just gave a great idea.
By the way, shout out to Super Sadiq Youssef. He has his own Substack.
Shout out.
I mean, I see him like he writes like a whole long thing. This guy's amazing. Actually checked in with him yesterday. Back getting better, but not quite 100%. Wish him the best, obviously. My only piece of advice to Noah is get there from the beginning. Take it all in. There's usually like a little like fan experience thing outside in the parking lot. Prudential Center is good for that because there's a big parking lot right, outside of it. Just enjoy it. Have fun. Don't worry about all the other stuff. The meat and potatoes in the arena, and you're going to have a great time. For a live experience, there's few things better, especially the first one. Actually, how about this, guys? My first UFC pay-per-view that I ever went to, UFC 78, where? The Prudential Center. How about that? This was back in 2007. I just launched jerrypark.com. I bought 2 tickets in hopes that I could convince someone to go with me all the way in the rafters. Couldn't find anyone to go with me, including my girlfriend / fiance at the time. Convinced my former boss to go with me, Jay Peterson. We went together from New York to Newark, sat in the upper deck, watched Rashad Evans fight Michael Bisping in the main event, Houston Alexander on the card, Joe Lozon on the card, UFC 78. How about that, guys? Am I getting old or what? What is this?
Yeah.
288. Jeez.
288. So that was 210 UFCs ago.
Well, way more than that.
Yeah, obviously.
Pay-per-views.
Pay-per-views ago.
Numbered events. There's been a couple of free, numbered. Yeah, it's a long time ago. What, 16 years ago? Jesus. SP Link. Hi, Ariel. I'm curious as your thought of when is it too much when it comes to influencer boxing. The Creator Clash series, I feel like toes the line. Sure, they get real boxing training, but some of the fights really just aren't fun to watch and devolve to arm flailing. The category of too much, in my opinion, is what's happening on the KSI undercard, where you have 2 YouTubers boxing named Boogie2988 and Wings of Redemption, both of whom are 400 pounds. How entertaining is that? And at what point is too much? What is the future of influencer boxing? I don't feel like the shelf life has much left in it unless there are big MMA names that step over to fight influencers. By the way, Boogie2988 has 4.06 million subscribers. This is courtesy of Mr. Moderator Lewis. Wings007, who's this Wings of Redemption guy, has 30,000 subscribers, which is a little bit surprising. Listen, different strokes for different folks. Not all of it is my cup of tea. They're trying to do things a little bit differently. They're going the WWE route. At the highest level, KSI, Logan Paul, Jake Paul, etc., Salt Poppy, I think it's fine. It's entertaining. And at the lowest level, it's, super duper amateur, debutante level stuff. And I think it just comes down to your expectations. What are you expecting to see? I think if you temper your expectations, you won't be disappointed. But yeah, I mean, is there ultimately where it gets uncomfortable is if you put one of these guys in there against an actual pro. That would not be good. If it's two dudes who have never fought before, more often than not, it's just going to be a sloppy, arms flailing fest. Don't hate it. Obviously, would rather watch, Canelo John Ryder this weekend. Mr. Mystery Balls. Dear Lord knows. GC, Andy, and New York Rick are commentating on a UFC Apex card. Who does play-by-play? Who gives the post-fight interview? Who accuses the others of not doing their research? Frank is obviously the ring announcer. His voice and presentation perfect for getting the Apex crowd amped up. Could we get a demo of a main event announcement? Cheers. Wow, what a question. So I guess the broadcast team is GC, Andy, and New York Rick. Who's play-by-play? I think GC is play-by-play. He's going to come with the research. He's going to come with the facts. He's going to take us from point A to point B.
Andy certainly does the accusations.
What accusations?
I love that for me.
Oh, the accusations, yes. Andy will do the accusations, and I think Andy will be more of the Joe Rogan third man in the booth, right? Like, commenting on stories and whatnot, people's backgrounds and all that. New York Rick is going to come in with the hot takes, but is also going to give you some, X's and O's. So I feel like that's a very good team. Frank as ring announcer is really interesting. Oh, by the way, who's doing the post-fight interviews? Andy, how do you feel about that? Are you comfortable in that role?
Just throw everything to her.
I thought it was going to just be Joe by default.
Well, Joe does the post-fight interviews. That's why I'm asking. So kind of have to do them, Sorry.
Joe Rogan.
Yeah, Joe Rogan.
Oh, wrong Joe.
Yes.
I could look the look on her face. You definitely confused her.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, it's interesting that they didn't mention Crypto Joe, Sloppy Joe, and Corporate Alex, but them's
Can
the
we break
breaks.
the fourth wall for a second?
Sure.
So Andy will be joining us on the watch party on Saturday.
Okay.
It's her first UFC event.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so she's gonna watch a fight and
you've never actually watched a UFC card?
Not a whole thing, no.
Wow,
I've
you're
seen,
in for a real treat.
Bits and pieces.
Oh, you're in for
from
a
being
treat.
Here.
Yeah.
Not really.
Oh, this is great. This is wonderful.
And the last thing that you want to, she told me,
Yes.
she said that these fighters don't scare her.
Good.
I just
I
thought
did
it
say
was
that.
unprovoked.
Yeah,
She
no.
was just like, you know what, these fighters don't scare me. I'm like, okay, good to know.
They want a demo of the main event announcement. So let's say Aljamain Sterling beats Henry Cejudo on Saturday. How are you announcing that, Frank? Because you're the ring announcer.
Aljo Sterling. Oh, wait, what was the outcome again? I missed it. No, I guess that would be. Why do you have that confused look on your face?
That is that's how you're announcing it?
Because that's how Buffer does it. He Aljo Sterling.
That's the announcement?
No.
Yeah.
There's the nickname in the middle.
Oh,
Aljo Sterling.
By the way,
I've never heard
you're
Bruce say
announcing
that.
him as Aljo?
yeah.
That is horrible. Ladies and gentlemen, the referee calls a stop to the action at 3 minutes and 13 seconds of the fourth round, declaring your winner via technical knockout and still
Yeah, but I would do it different.
I was vibing right there. I'm not gonna lie. I was
Yeah,
really
you definitely
vibing.
like went to another place there.
Yeah, I was.
But
really
the idea
vi-
is like
we're not imitating.
yeah, I mean that's
Okay,
weird.
so go ahead, do it.
Ariel wants your job, Frank.
Apparently.
Go
yeah.
ahead, do it. I want to hear it.
They're like, wow, what a stoppage. Aljo, come here, bud. How are you feeling? Is there any monster in that can? No? Okay. A little awkward.
Is this a post-fight interview?
I don't even understand what's going on right now.
Okay, all
just
right.
skipped
I thought you were making the announcement, dude.
Look, I'd probably be confused at what's going on.
Okay, keep going. That's how you're
Like,
announcing
hey,
it?
man, can I have a hug? What a champ.
Imagine they say, okay, let's send it over to Mysterious Frank for the
Where's he
winner's
at?
announcement.
Oh, there's a fish market down the street.
Hey, man, congrats. Aljo Sterling is the winner. Round of applause,
Right,
everyone. And the face is
Frank.
pixelated.
Frank walks in and typically, in the morning, and he walks straight to my desk and he's just like, "Hey, how's it going, man?" I'm like, "Yeah, good. What's up, dude?" And he like knuckle bumps me. I'm just like, "What's going on?" He's just like, "That's all I got. That's all I got." And then he walks off. I'm just like,
There you go.
"All right, man."
Well,
Thanks.
see you later. Big gulp, huh?
Yeah, and then I would be like, I'll see you at the next fight, Aljo.
Yeah.
Peace.
Peace out, everyone. Drive safe. Marco, hey, Ariel, who's the best play-by-play right now in the NBA? Mike Breen or Kevin Harlan? Have a great week. Mike Breen. Mike Breen, and to me, number 2 and a close second is Ian Eagle. I love Ian Eagle. Yesterday, calling the Knicks game, he's just so good. I know New York Rick feels very strongly about this one. He feels like Ian is the best. To me, it's Mike Breen. And I might be biased because Knicks, also, he was incredibly kind to me when I was at ESPN, but really, I think he's tremendous. I mean, an impassioned, emotional Mike Breen saying, bang! I mean, there's very few things as great as that, especially when it's at MSG and the Knicks are rolling, but Ian Eagle will be number 2 for me. Yeah, I know you didn't ask about Ian, but yeah, Breen Harlan, I put Breen above. Harlan, legend, absolute legend, but tip, hey team, I haven't watched an episode since the DJ episode. Jeez. I have a 36-hour road trip coming up after graduation to SF. Okay, so he's going to SF after graduation. So I'm saving them in order to binge. My girlfriend may kill me. Yeah, I would feel very sorry for her girlfriend if she has to listen to us for 36 hours. Also, kind of a weird move because I feel like the shows are somewhat time sensitive, right? You can't listen to a show that happened before 288, after 288. It wouldn't make much sense. But
Yeah, sure you can.
maybe there's an appeal, yeah. My question is this. What active fighter do you think is the best YouTube channel? I personally just found Michelle Pereira. Oh, no, Alex Pereira's after the loss, and the amount of backstage footage she showed was very unique. So who are your top 3? Roll Tide. Lewis did the math, by the way, and our guy has saved 11 hours and 46 minutes of show to enjoy across his 36-hour trip. Shout out. Respect. I kind of feel like Izzy's is the best right now. Would you not say? Now, does Conor's count? Because the Macloaf is much more than just the Conor McGregor account. I don't know if Conor's counts, right? Their YouTube page is great, but it's not just centered around Conor stuff. Would you say Izzy's is the best, GC? Freestyle Bender just got 1 million subs.
I was about to say, I think he just passed 1 million. I mean, he's constantly pumping out content.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, Aljo's is pretty good. He talked about it.
Aljo's is
pretty
good. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who keeps the production value high, I think it's cool to get that insight. Arnold Allen.
Arnold, yes. That's a
I mean,
great shout.
If we're talking Adesanya, over 1 million subscribers. And the stuff he does put out is great. Volkanovski's got a good one, Cooking with Volk, shout out. I like that a lot of these guys have.
Volks is great.
Yeah, I like the more fighters that have these, the better in my opinion. I like being able to get that inside window into their lives.
Oh, the Volk shout is great. I like the Volk shout a lot. There was another one that I wanted to say.
Sadiq Yusuf.
Sadiq Yusuf, that was the one.
Another
Anyone who's
good
trying to do something different, like Sadiq's is obviously not like a vlog type of thing, but there's a lot of content out there. If you're trying to do something different, respect.
Love it.
George, don't rush St. Pierre. Lord Ariel, another social etiquette question for you this week. I arrive at my office at 9 a.m., but most people get here at 8:30, so I have to park far away from the front door. When I go for lunch, I see several open spaces, and I often shift to move closer to the prime parking spots at the front. As we have no assigned parking, I feel this is fair, but some of my friends think this is out of bounds. What do you and the boys and girl think?
Absolutely in their right to do that.
Yeah?
Yeah, for sure. It's an empty parking spot.
Lost your seat.
Yeah,
That's it.
I agree.
If they really cared, they would bring their lunch to work.
So I get what he's saying. Like, some people would be annoyed because he comes in at 9 and they come in at 8:30, but it's like snooze, you lose, right? Like, the whole deck gets reshuffled when you guys go out for lunch.
Right. And he's not saying like, oh, I'm running late and they're all early.
Right.
It could be that his shift doesn't start until 9 and it just happens to be that, yeah, no. He shouldn't even think twice about it.
Yeah, I agree. Luis, hi, Ariel. David Samson, oh, God, mentioned on the Dan Le Batard show with Stu Gatz on Monday that being a Knicks fan has brought him zero joy since they haven't won a championship since he started going to games in 1975. He also thinks it is pathetic that his number one moment as a sports fan was the Knicks Game 7 victory over the Pacers when they finally made it to the finals. What do you think about this opinion as a fellow Knicks fan? And what is your favorite Knicks moment? Yeah, this is a ridiculous opinion, but to be honest, everything that guy says and stands for is ridiculous. There have been great moments. Just because they haven't won a championship, it doesn't mean they haven't given us great moments. And if we want to talk about post-75, right, because 73 won't count in this discussion, neither will 70 when they won their 2 championships, getting the number 1 pick, drafting Patrick Ewing, Ewing's first game against the Sixers, times were obviously lean, but there were some great moments in the 80s, you know, the Trent Tucker game, etc. But then come 91, you know, we're starting to become a player. 92, we go 7 games with the Bulls, a very underrated kind of like ragtag underdog team, takes the Bulls to 7 games, the defending champs. That was tremendous. 93, great run, conference finals, I should say, up 2-0, ends in heartbreak. But like, we're talking about moments, right? So you're still on cloud 9, up 2-0 against the Bulls in the conference finals. 94, we make it all the way to the finals, beating the Bulls in the second round, beating the Pacers in the conference finals, going up 3-2 against the Rockets. Again, it all ends in heartbreak, but you can't deny the fact that there were great moments, feelings, excitement leading up to all of that. 95, down 3-1 to the Pacers, Ewing hits a big shot to send them back to Game 6. And then eventually they lose in 7, finger roll. That was heartbreaking. By the way, one of my most underrated favorite moments ever, Game 6, 94, Eastern Conference Finals, down 3-2 to the Pacers after Reggie goes for 25 in the fourth quarter in Game 5. Total heartbreak. On the road, Friday night, I'm in 6th grade, and I remember sitting in class and praying to God and saying that if he can listen to me, if he can give the Knicks this victory tonight, I will never be a bad boy ever again. I remember that. And guess what? They won, and I was never a bad boy ever again. And then ended up winning on a Sunday afternoon. Starks goes up off the backboard. Ewing slams it home. I mean, one of the great moments of all time. 96 lean years. 97 was a nice run, which ended in heartbreak because of the brawl between the Knicks and the Heat. Charlie Ward gets power bombed, and somehow, you know, we ended up losing out in that regard. 98, we're the 7th seed, and we beat the Heat in the first round. Tremendous. 99, Allen Houston's shot wasn't a great moment. What are you talking about, David Sampson? Yeah, Jabron. Allen Houston shot. The 99 Knicks, the 8th seed, going all the way to the finals, sweeping the Hawks, beating the number 1 Pacers, or number 2 Pacers, excuse me. Beating the number 2 Pacers. They had home court, beating them in 6, going to the finals against San Antonio. What about Game 7, 2000 against the Heat? Patrick Ewing's last great moment as a Knick. What about Linsanity? What about the Carmelo trade? What about the 2013 team? So this is nonsense. What are you talking about? Yes. Have there been a lot of bad moments over the last 20 years? Absolutely. Have they been somewhat of a laughing stock? Absolutely. But we've had great moments. And we will continue to have great moments. Oh my God, this last question is like 4 paragraphs long.
A novel, I think.
Chatty Maddie says, and by the way, thank you so much to Squarespace. I'll tell you more about them in a moment for their support of this segment. Chatty Maddie. Okay, here we go. As a longtime listener, it was an honor for me to make a small contribution to the show last week with the idea of Apex Mania. Oh yeah, Chatty was the guy who did that. Shout out. I really appreciated how you and the crew embrace the concept. And I look forward to receiving my invitation to the Apex Mania watch party a couple years down the road. My first instinct was to pull a Costanza and walk away on a high note, but I have another idea that I wanted to get your thoughts on. Oh my gosh, this is well worth the Megillah. All right. With Dana's hectic schedule and the risk of oversaturation or saturation with regard to his weekly content, I think the time is right to consider making some sweeping changes. Since Contender Series is vital to filling out the UFC's roster, I think the clear move is to consolidate his other 3 shows into one and name it Dana White Looking for a Food Fight. The concept would be familiar, as Dana would travel the country seeking out undiscovered talent. The fighters would be tasked with preparing specialty food items, which they would then take turns slapping each other with. Imagine watching a slow motion replay of one competitor knocking another one out with a fruity pebble crusted rack of lamb, or dare I say a Cheeto pancake. To keep the food tasting portion of Fuck It Friday alive, Dana would settle any fight that goes to a decision by sampling both competitors' food items and declaring one the winner. I have no doubt that the Nevada State Athletic Commission would quickly sanction this event. Absolutely. And many aspiring chefs and or fighters would have an outlet for their talents. It would save Dana a lot of time, significantly cut production costs, and the ratings would likely be off the charts. Do you think this is a viable idea? So here's the thing. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right? Who said that? It's been attributed to a lot of greats. Gretzky, Jordan, Michael Scott, right? Chatty Matty hit a grand slam last week. This, I would say, was like a weak dribbler to first base. He took a shot and he missed. I respect the panache. I respect the confidence. But there's a lot of Dana White on this show. It's convoluted. I can't even recite the concept because it's so convoluted. It doesn't even hold a candle to Apex Mania. And quite frankly, I feel like not only myself, the crew, and the rest of the audience
I know where this is going.
are now dumber as a result of having to listen to this asinine idea. Do you understand what I'm saying?
No would have been enough. It literally, I did get to the last part. And I'm like, this is a yes or no question.
Yeah, this is.
It's a 8-paragraph yes or no question.
A simple no would have sufficed, but all right. Dun, 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 dun. By the way, did I ever tell you that I say, peace, I'm out of here?
Yeah, probably once a month.
Okay. All right, fine. Excuse me for living.
Where did you get it from?
Stop it. That does it for the questions. We got them all in one sitting. How about that, guys?